Everybody else at?
Hello, Internet world. The kitties are getting canned food right now. So they're,
Here.
so,
Hip socks. Here's yours.
today,
Come over
this
here, Daddy.
came,
Come on, hip socks. Here's yours. Here's yours.
this, some other stuff. I'm just showing the German language stuff. What I want to get is a German dictionary. Not a German English, but just a German dictionary. But a nice thick one. Like, I'm talking like 500,000 pages, something like that. But I don't need to get that yet. But I found something interesting while flipping through this book. Now, in Spanish, in Spanish, Europa is clothes, or our clothing is whatever. And now maybe I notice things that others don't, but think Europa, rope. What do you do with a rope? You wrap it around yourself to keep your jacket closed or your pants up. What does that mean? That means clothing.
That's what they do.
Yep. So now I'm talking about, I guess you'd say, continental Spanish. I'm talking about Spanish from Spain. I don't know. Actually, I believe ropa over here also means the same thing. But there are differences between Latin American Spanish and Spanish. But here's I noticed some things in German as well. Girdle. What is a girdle? You wrap a girdle around you, right?
No, you wear a girdle.
Well, you wear it.
Well, I guess you could get the kind wrap around you. I don't know.
Well, in Deutsch, in German, girdle is belt.
Oh.
I may not be pronouncing that correctly, but girdle. Girdle.
Dad!
And
no! You don't eat the others.
Wheelchair. Rollstuhl. Well, rollstuhl. Roll. Think roll. Wheelchair. Rollstuhl. So it looks like I'm going to be able to figure some of this German out. Rucksack. The rucksack. What is a rucksack? It's a backpack, right? A shoulder strap is a Viertelmann, but rucksack, backpack. We use rucksack over here too. I mean, we use that term as well.
Don't you eat socks? Watch them.
John will eat their food. So so it looks like some of the German will be easily understood, but the language training program has not arrived yet. I don't know why it's taking so long for it to get here, but my wife, who is walked into the other room, one of her Christmas presents arrived today. One of them. There are still 2 more items that haven't arrived yet. They won't be here till late this month because it turns out they're coming from China. 600. Oh. This also arrived. I have another book by this same author. I thought this was kind of a nasty. It's Fromm's. How Julius Fromm's condom empire fell to the Nazis. That's kind of a nasty, to me it's kind of a nasty subject, but like I said, I have another book by the same author. Oh wow, Socks, you ate all of it, huh? Good girl, eh? But an interest. I mean, without regard to the item that he was selling and developed. It's not. He did not invent that item, but he advanced the technology. He helped to advance the technology and sell it. And but what's interesting is the story of how his business was basically stolen by the Nazis. Remember, the Nazis were socialists, so they took stuff. But anyway, and the other day this came, so I also thought I would go ahead and I actually found cards, like a Thanksgiving card and a Thanksgiving card and a All Ireland Day card that I haven't given my wife. Anyway, who knows what's on top of this desk. Anyway, so I thought I would go into some of the reasons why I've chosen German as the language I'm going to learn. I could have learned Irish, and it is referred to as Irish, not Irish Gaelic. It's referred to as Irish. But I've never spoken Irish. I've never lived in Ireland. I've never even been to Ireland. German would have been either my second or third language. Spanish being my native language, but I don't speak it anymore. I guess you could say I never really spoke that much of it. My first two words were haka and baba. I couldn't say bottle, so I'd say baba. But haka, and it's spelled with an H, which is interesting because you would think in Espanol that it would be pronounced haka, but they say haka. But there was a guy in my hometown, and he had a stuffed horse, a real horse that he had stuffed, taxidermied, and he had it on a wooden cart with wheels on the bottom of it, and he would pull it around town, and you get your picture taken. I don't know how much it cost. It probably was pretty cheap. Well, for us, it was probably pretty cheap. For most people in Spain, it was probably a little more than they could really afford. But so why German? Well, like I said, German is either my second or third language, and there are some German language movies. I have one of them on DVD called Amy and Jaguar, and I also have the book. I love that story. Although I do wonder about the kids, about her kids, how they were affected by so many of the things that went on. Because at least from the movie, and movies are movies, they're fictional. I mean, even if they're based on real life, they tend to exaggerate certain things and so forth and so on. They add things that aren't true to the story and so forth and so on. But first of all, being born into and growing up during the war, especially in Berlin, had to have been rough. Had to have been really, really rough. As especially as the war went on, you're threatened with the bombings. First you're dealing with the Nazis, and then you're dealing with the Allied bombings, and then later on you actually have Allied troops coming in. You have their artillery hitting you. So it had to have been rough. And when we lived in Germany, Now, my best friend, his dad had been a German soldier in the war. Even though they weren't German, they were Yugoslavian. But I have relatives by marriage. One of my aunties, her husband was German, and we went to see his family when we lived there. And there was still a lot of rubble where, I don't know where it was in Germany she lived, but there was a lot of rubble still left from the war. Even where we lived, there was some rubble, but it was clean, it was neat. I mean, they piled it up, and over time they got rid of it. But where we lived, it was a nice place to live where we lived. But there were still parts of Germany that really weren't in the best of shape. And that side of the family, they were definitely poor. I can definitely say that. Anyway, so I don't know if I showed this. Did I show this? I call it a cheat sheet. It's really, I don't know if you'd really call it a cheat sheet or not. It's German grammar. But so there are a number of German language movies that I really like, and it would be really nice to watch them in German and not have to deal with captions. I don't mind captions so much, but I cannot stand dubbed movies. Ugh. I just cannot stand a movie that's been dubbed. But Amy and Jaguar is one. There's a zombie movie, a real good German zombie movie. Rombach, I think may be the name of it. There are not a whole lot of characters in the movie, and you're dealing with a very small group of people in a very confined area. But it's a very good movie. There's a French zombie movie, The Horde, but I don't plan on learning to speak French. I mean, if I ever had the chance to go back to Europe, if I went back to Europe, I'd want to go to Spain and Germany, and actually spend time in those two places, maybe a few days to a few weeks. I'd love to. Well, if you got me back in Spain, I might not leave. But I would make it a point to, spend 8-12 hours a day with whatever language that I was going to that I was going to have to use once I got there. But, I'd spend 8 to 12 hours a day for a week or two just concentrating on one language and then flipping to another. But Spain, Germany, and Ireland are the three countries, maybe Scotland. Those are the 3, maybe 4 countries that I actually want to spend time in. I would like to travel through Andorra, France, Switzerland, Austria. And I'd kind of like to take the route we took when we moved from Spain to Germany. And I'd love to go to Okinawa and actually spend several weeks or months there. Although I've looked at maps and like Google Maps, oh my goodness, the area that I lived in on Okinawa, it's like completely urbanized now. And we lived where the Shuri-Naha line was during the war, and we lived there like 20-25 years after the war, so there was still, stuff being found. Well, when we lived in Germany, people were still finding stuff. But anyway, so the reasons for German, like I said, it's either my second or third language, and it would have been the first language I really started to understand and was able to speak. Although my best friend, like I said, his parents were from Yugoslavia, so I was introduced to Serbo-Croatian, but I never spoke it. I probably understood a word or two, but nothing more than that. if you think of Germany, if you look at a map, Germany is a hub. It's like a center, and so if you put spokes out from Germany, you're going to France, you're going to Poland, you're going to Austria, you're going to Switzerland, you're going to the Low Countries. So the German language would spread, German culture would spread, and so I think it would be a good language to learn because it's right there in the center. Everything, if you go further west, you get to England and Ireland, Wales and Scotland. So Germany is a hub, and then many of the great theologians and great philosophers and great writers either were German, or many of them may not have been German, but some of them wrote at least some of their works in German. So, if you want to read, say, oh goodness, since I don't, I'm not a religious person, I don't really pay that much attention to these things. But Martin Luther, for example, although he was an extreme anti-Semite, but he was German. I can't remember the name of the guy. He was murdered by the Nazis. He was also a theologian, but I can't remember his name offhand. Another thing for listening to and speaking German for practice is my ham radio. I don't have a license yet, so I'm not supposed to be using it, and I don't. But once I get my ticket, my license to use the ham radio, although I'm going to have to get a better antenna, because either that or I'm going to have to climb up a mountain or a hill to get a good signal. Although I was thinking of getting a dipole antenna and putting it on the window over here, and then I could probably pick something up. But using the ham radio, I'll have the chance to listen to conversations. And I can listen to them now. I just can't pick anything up. But I can't talk on the ham radio. Another thing is I can watch videos on YouTube and elsewhere that that are in German. I don't, outside of what I've shown you, outside of these three things, I don't have anything in German yet. And Frau Braun, I seriously doubt Frau Braun is still with us. Anyway, I just got to notice that I need to free up space on my computer, so I better end this video. So, yeah, those are the reasons. German is like the fourth language spoken in New Hampshire, but it's like 0.4% of the population in New Hampshire speaks German. I don't know, it was like 5,000, 10,000 people that speak German. So, I mean, New Hampshire, it's like 95+% of the population speak only English, or English is their native language. So, but I do know of one person over in Vermont who speaks German. She's from Germany, so they have a annual barbecue at that hospital for all the patients, because it's a physical rehabilitation hospital that I went to after my surgery, and I was on some heavy drugs at that point, pain medicine. I'm telling you. But I just said, well, she was walking out of the room. I said, Danke. And she said, see, you still speak German, or you still know some German. So I'm like, well, you know, if it just comes out like that, then maybe German is a language I need to work on, because maybe, just maybe, I still, some of it's still in the back of my head, and I just need to work on it to bring it out. And when they have the annual barbecue, if we can go, because right now the car's not working, we're going to see about, hope somebody said they'd come by and look at the car for us. We'll see if they come by. This is the second person that said they would do that, and so far nobody's done it. But if we go up there, I can speak, if she's still there, I can speak to that person in German. And that would be nice. It would be fun to be able to talk to somebody in another language. But we'll see. But oh, and then, you know, there are free German language programs online, and there are German language programs online that are not free. So right now I'll stick with Duolingo, I believe is the name of the website. But I want to start all over again with it. I don't want to start where I left off, because it's been months since I used that site, and I was having problems with some of the words. I was getting, it was I don't remember what they were now, but I was having problems with them. So I should have asked my cousin or somebody what this, you know, because then if I could have figured it out, if I could have understood it, maybe I wouldn't have been having problems with it. I mean, I could have, you know, overcome the problems. But we thought I saw Lucky on the floor. Still think I hear him. Has some of his hair right here. But anyway, so, oh, and this is from German, or this is it right side up there. That's like the Peace Tower or something. It was built after World War I, and it survived World War II. I don't know where in Germany it is, but and you know, an odd thing is, my favorite book, it's not my favorite because I've read it and reread it, but this was given to my dad. This is Don Quixote by Cervantes. This is a Spanish language edition. It's leather bound. And this is my favorite book, but it's not because of the story, it's just because this physically is my favorite book. But it was given to my dad by, I can't read his name. But anyway, so, Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Sprechen Sie Deutsch. I used to think it was Sprechen Sie Deutsch, but it's Sprechen Sie Deutsch. So, anyway, oh, and another reason I like German World War II history, or World War II German history. I just find it fascinating, and you know, the more you learn about it, the more you realize the Nazis were socialists. A lot of people don't want to admit it, a lot of people don't realize that, but they were socialist. So anyway, Guten Tag.